What's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Nate. Welcome back to Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews, and today we are reviewing Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. So, no doobie right here because, long story short, me and the homie decided to take a little 2-week break, then go hard for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And in the meantime, we're reading the Tao Te Ching. So if you read the Tao Te Ching, let me know in the comments, but we're on our sober spiritual shit. So no doobie, historic Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book review, because no doobie. Instead, I've got a fresh, piping hot cup of coffee. So I got my coffee right here. It is ready to be sipped. And today we are reviewing Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. Also, quick side note, my bad, I've been gone for so long, bro. I got a job. It's like my 3rd week. I'm now a biostatistician and data analyst. I don't know. You tell me how. I don't know. Broke 2 of my phones, basically. Broke my laptop. Had to take dog to the vet. Got a haircut, as you can see. It's been a busy month or so, so don't begrudge me in none of that. You know Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews, is not going anywhere. And today we got a dope ass book to kick it back off with. Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. So without further ado, let's get into the book. So, okay, this book was published 1977. It was the winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award. Okay, cool. It was part of Oprah Winfrey's book club. Okay, that's cool. It was cited as one of the books for her getting basically the Nobel Prize in literature. And it's like, okay, these are all fun and good, but the biggest accolade I think she's earned for this book is this is the second full feature length book review author. This is the first author I've ever done 2 full feature book reviews for. So congratulations to Toni Morrison for that. And which just is all to say that we've got a very special book in store for you guys today. So, okay. Song of Solomon, what is it about? To me, just in the broadest strokes and terms, Song of Solomon is basically the story of this character named Milkman, who we follow from his birth. And in fact, the first scene of this book is actually kind of surreal. And it's like this dude who basically believes he can fly, and he jumps off a building. And it's at that moment that Milkman is born. And then we follow him through what we'll just call some very interesting circumstances of his childhood. And if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And this is actually where he gets his name, Milkman. But we won't go too much into that. It's interesting. And then, of course, we follow through him adolescence, young adulthood, blah, 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 blah. And this is essentially the coming of age story of this character named Milkman. And all along the way, as he's growing up, he's having all sorts of new experiences and encounters with just a bunch of different themes like race and class and love and family and even just who he is as an individual, as a human being. And by the end of the book, Milkman is like a completely changed individual, but he's at the same time he's still fundamentally Milkman. Sip break. You'll notice every time I drink coffee on this channel, it doesn't end up well. I'll tell you, it happens on and off the camera. I've had some incidents. So one of the things that Milkman is just constantly bumping up against into his life, and because this is Toni Morrison, this is one of the big things she writes about, is just the nature of race and racism. But so unlike Beloved, which is the other book review I did, the first feature full-length book review of Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews, is that obviously takes place in slave time. So it's very explicitly about racism in that sense. But this Song of Solomon takes place actually throughout in the mid to late 1900s. And so it's still very much about race, and all that stuff is relevant, actually, the historical aspect of it. But this book, I think, deals much more so with elements of what I'll just say is modern race and racism. And just a little example of this is him and his whole family at one point, they go on these little traditions. Every week they go on a little drive, and at one point one of Milkman's sisters is why are we going to that neighborhood? Hold up, a cat just leapt from that was crazy. I saw it. You didn't see what I see. Anywho, and anyway, she's like, why are we going to that neighborhood? That's white people houses. And then Milkman's dad is it's not all white people houses. Some of it's just land, way over on the other side. That could make a nice summer home for colored folk one day. So it's just the idea that it's just unthinkable that black people could live alongside white people and that they'd be granted the same opportunities and privileges and things like that. And Toni Morrison actually has this flyer line. She's talking about she said, he knew as a black man he would never get a slice of the pie, but there was still quite a bit of filling oozing out the sides. And there's this other part where one of Milkman's cousins, Reba, she's chronically lucky. Like she just gets lucky all the time. And she walks into a Sears, which by the way tells you like this in this book. There's like it's that time period where Sears exists. And anyway, she's like the 100,000th customer, and it's like this whole thing. She gets this prize. They take her picture. She's gonna be featured in the newspaper. It's like this awesome little event. And the whole family's excited. They're to see her picture, because she's like, oh, she's famous. So they went and they buy the paper and they go to look at Reba. And they never posted her picture. They posted like the white dude who came after her. So it's just like little slick shit like that baked throughout the novel. And it's just like almost more so like everyday experiences, again, of more so like modern racism. But then, that being said, tied in with that, she deals with definitely elements of like the larger social political aspects too, which I think she does an excellent balance between this, where like at one point Milkman just as a character, as an individual, learns some very troubling information about his family's past, and he's going on this long walk just to process it, and he's trying to get his mind straight. And then it's like as he's walking around, it's at that point that the news of the incident with Emmett Till takes place, and like the whole community is in this huge uproar, which leads to like conversations and then experiences which fundamentally shape who Milkman is. And there's even like elements of low-key like racism within the black community kind of things. Like for instance, Milkman's dad is like this greedy authoritarian kind of figure, and he's kind of described as like a white black person. And one of the things I really like about this book is Toni Morrison, what she does is she shows like the diversity of opinion and belief and values within, in this case, the black community, but of course any like minority community, or really any community at all. But like I just say that because I've noticed, I try and stay away low-key from political discourse as much as I can, but like one thing that's always kind of bothered me is minority populations are just talked about often in like these like sweeping blanket statements where it's just like they're assumed to just be like this homogenous group that all just like think the same thing. And one thing that I think comes out really strongly in Song of Solomon is, again, just the huge variety of the way that of cultural tensions, again, like within in this case the black community. And like one of the big things that comes up is class. And I feel like one of the best examples of this comes from Milkman and his best friend Guitar, which like is just an awesome Milkman and Guitar are just awesome names, and we'll talk about the nature of names in this book later actually. But so the idea is they have like this little dynamic where Guitar is like less well off and Milkman is like more so well off, and they're constantly sort of butting heads with regard to that. And there's at one point they have a conversation, and Guitar is talking to Milkman. He's like, the first time I ever saw your dad, he was evicting me and my family out of my house. Like that's the difference between you and me. And then like the conversation escalates, and then eventually Guitar calls Milkman out for basically for living in a nicer part of town. And then Milkman kind of claps back. He's like, what do you want, Guitar? You mad at every black person that's not scrubbing floors and picking cotton? Like, is it bad for black people to have nice things? So this is just something that constantly comes up. And then like I already described, like Milkman's dad is described as like a white black person. There's a part where Milkman himself actually goes down to the South, where there's this whole other set of beliefs and traditions and norms, and like because of those tensions, let's just say Milkman does not get along with the locals. And there's a part where it's like she says something like they looked at him and they saw that his skin was as black as theirs, but they knew he had the heart of the white man who came to pick them up in trucks when they needed faceless anonymous labor. So just the idea of a black person having the heart of a white person, and that being inextricably linked with, again, class and wealth and things like that. So, but even aside from the race, class, all the like the political, social, blah blah blah, this book is about love. Like arguably this is the biggest theme of the book is love. Every character in this book has some object of desire, some object of love, and a unique way in which they express it that's like unique to their own personality, if that makes sense. Whether it be love of money, love of family, romantic love, obsession, love of friendship, love, even just love of oneself. Like this book is very much an exploration of all these different aspects of love. And I think Toni Morrison, this is where some of her writing in this book particularly just shines at its brightest, at its most luminositous. We're gonna call out a word. And anyway, it's where Toni Morrison really shines. She has some absolutely beautiful and genuinely insightful passages that really have me thinking about love. What is love? So there's that. Another aspect of this book I really like is the character work that she does. So on the one hand, hold up, bro, sit break, I be talking. But Milkman lives in this little town, and Toni Morrison does this great job of like, you kind of come to get to know all the little local characters and citizens, where it's like, whenever Milkman goes out into town and just runs into all the like the local figures, it's like it feels like you're a part of the actual community itself. So there's like a sort of breadth of character there, but then also the depth of character. So I've already talked about Milkman's dad, Macon, who's described in the beginning of the book particularly as very greedy, authoritarian, severe. He's basically just like an asshole, like all around. But Toni Morrison, throughout the book, she has like these, like, I think they're genuinely beautiful scenes where you get these insight into Macon's past, his own experiences, his memories, the reason why he is the way he is, his intentions behind what he's doing. And he's able to become someone you can, if you don't approve it, you can at least sympathize and understand with what he's doing. Every character in this book has their own interiority, they have full histories and full lives, and like again, they're real people, they're real characters with flesh and blood and all that crap. So characters are sick. I mean, bro, I could just go on. Like another element of this book I really like is like it's got elements of magic, which is like interesting. And it's a totally a part of the book. It's not like I certainly wouldn't say it's magical realism or anything like that, but like I'll just throw some keywords out there like magic, voodoo, herbal concoctions, mysterious circumstances, flying, spirits. I don't know, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna throw all that out there and just be aware it's definitely like a part of the book, which gives it a nice little spice. I love a little bit of magic. But oh, and I talked about names earlier, the role of names. So for one, everybody here just has sick ass names. Like I already mentioned, Guitar Baines, Milkman. Milkman's family's whole last name is dead. So it's like Milkman dead, Macon dead, Corinthians dead, Singh dead, which is just like awesome. But like it's cool to have good names and everything, but like names is a real theme of this book. Like what names signify, the need to keep names alive, the history of names, the erasure of names, like the symbolism of it all. And it's like even just like I said, Macon's whole family's last name is dead, but that ties back into like history too, because the reason the reason from where they got their name is Milkman's grandfather used to be a slave, of course. And then like when he was freed, all the slaves had to like register. And when he registered, the person who was taking his name is like asking him all these questions, you know, like, where are you from? I'm from Macon. Where's your family? Oh, my family's all dead. And the dude that was writing down all his information was drunk. So he basically just mixed everything, all the answers around. And that's where they got their family, like Macon dead, which is the whole lineage. Milkman's actually Macon dead the third. There's just like a ton of crap to talk about with this book. It's amazing. So thematically rich, you could say. But I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to call it. Overall, I'll give this book at least an A, and I'm doing like a modern classic scale. It's like classics, modern classic scale, and then contemporary. And so this gets at least an A. Honestly, you could convince me A+. A little critique is there's a couple characters where it's like I either want a little bit more from them or just like don't even go there. But like that's like nitpicking. And honestly, I enjoyed that whole part, but it's just like a little whatever high level thing. But over like what I wanna leave the viewer off with is I think this book just in general does like an amazing balance between Milkman just as a human being, just him as an individual, something everybody can relate to, where he's coming of age and he's becoming his own person and everything, with of course like the balance between this and like the larger themes of like race and class and all that other stuff. So I think she does an amazing job of balancing those two. And then of course just the writing in this book is fantastic. It's just like amazing. She has all these little gems, like these beautiful like insightful lines just about life, and again particularly with respect to like love and everything. But it's like this I think is like lyrical poetic writing at its best, just like literally just like beautiful. And the thing I want to like mention about this book, which I feel like sums up how I feel about it, is every time I sat down to read this book I ended up reading it way longer than I thought. And like there were times where this book really gripped me with the fervor of like a thriller low-key, where it's like I got an event to go to, I got some shit I gotta go to, but like I cannot stop reading this book, and I hate to put it down. I don't know, your experience could be different with it, but that was my own experience with Song of Solomon. And like, not that you should compare Beloved or Song of Solomon or anything, but if I was at this point to recommend where to start with Toni Morrison, I would say Song of Solomon. And then I'll just say too, like in general, this is how I feel about it. Toni Morrison's writing this book, she got soul. I don't know how else to say it, but it's got soul. And if you read the book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But so, okay, that's a wrap, everybody. Sorry if I'm a little rusty. I've been out the game for a minute, but Big Nate's Book Reviews is back. Home of the best book reviews is back. And let me know if you've read Song of Solomon, what your thoughts on it were. Get to the Discord, hit that subscribe, hit the like, etc., etc. And thank you for watching Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews.